You stand so that they know who we're talking about. Professor Heap is the president of the European Academy of Sciences and comes with a lot of experiences in several institutions. And then Professor Tona Ison. Tona Ison, standing behind. Tona Ison is the former Minister for Science and Technology in Nigeria, and has been also helping the board for quite some time. Now, Professor Agnes Wagombe is the principal of the faculty, the College of Agriculture and Veterinary Medicine in the University of Nairobi. Professor Wagombe sends due apologies because she was supposed to be here, but there is a crisis in the university which she's attending to, and so she has not been able to make it here. And the last person is Professor Indiranath, who is also a senior scientist from India, who is also playing very heavily in the global scene. So these are the members that the board is asking you to ratify. The policy says the AGM confirms or rather ratifies board members annually. So if there is any objections to any of these continuing on the board, this is the time to raise it.
Okay, members, any objection? Can I get a seconder? Seconded. Who have not spoken? Wow. There's a no.
Yes.
No.
There's a no.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not a no as the no.
Right.
But I want clarification. How many women have we got on the board?
One. Is there any conflict of interest?
Okay, the co-chairpersonship of Professor Wagombe on the Africa Women Forum for Science and Technology came before her appointment as a board member. And as a senior person amongst the women, I think it's for the women, the AWFST, to decide whether they want her steer to continue, her chairpersonship to continue of the AWFST. But there's no real substantive conflict of interest as per our policy. Because this is an activity of women, and the fact that she's on the board doesn't make her not an African woman.
Yes, my brother. Mike here, please.
Thank you, Chair. Robert Lamin is my name, as I said it before.
The categories of people and skill mix that is supposed to be there in terms of also gender has been taken care of, except that we have not divided one, gotten somebody who is man-woman to satisfy a matter, so it's 50-50 at the moment. But you notice that we have experienced policymakers. This is one who is Executive Secretary of Science and Technology. Professor Ison is there, who is also a long-standing Minister of Science and Technology. Then we have international experts really leading in science and technology issues. And you can't get better than the President of the European Academy of Sciences, Professor Brian Heap, and also Professor Indiranath, who is a leading scientist from India. So we're also trying to balance the region aspect. Then we have Professor Wagombe, who is a scientist and heading faculty in the university. And then taking forward the nominations, which will be the next agenda item once we get out through this one. Then the board has also taken a decision today that they will take into account the skill mix, the regional balance, the gender balance, and all those other criteria. So thank you very much, PM, for raising this. Thank you.
And thank you very much. I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Can somebody fix this?
Yeah.
Item of the agenda.
Yes.
Before we leave it, actually, we were just looking at representation of the current board, and we say that we have slots, actually, nominee of donor members. We also have nominee by ATPS members from among their own ranks as the resident African members from North Africa, Central Africa as well, and Southern Africa. So when we are going to fill up the positions, then this is what we're going to consider. And I think we would like to request you, people from those regions, to start thinking of people of high integrity, visionary leaders who would be able to sit on board. Southern Africa, Central Africa, and Northern Africa, please, so that you can be able to give us the names and they can be taken through due process to be appointed on the board, and we'll also look at the issue of the donor member as well. As Kevin said, we are looking at gender balance so that we can have at least 1/3, preferably 50%, but at least 1/3 of gender, of either gender. And then also we're looking at the discipline, we are looking at the region, and other factors as well. Okay? Thank you. Can we move on to the next item of the agenda?
Which is, we need to also announce the retirements. Need to announce the retirement.
Right. The next item of the agenda is confirmation of the minutes, confirmation of the board members. We also have some members who have actually retired from the board. These are, we have, of course, Professor Sam Wangwe, and we also have Banji, Professor Banji, who did finish his term, actually, first term, and then we have Professor Oliver Sasa, and we have a fourth one as well. This is His Excellency the Mayor Benjo. And some of them actually, as a board, we would like to present it to you because of the issue of governance, because of the issue of commitment, dedication. Some of our colleagues actually were not able to, because of their responsibilities in other places, not be able to attend 3 consecutive board meetings. And we felt really we need to be accountable. And we felt we would like to propose to you that people like that, we can allow them to take other responsibilities and be able to engage them informally or in another way and be able to contribute, rather than expecting them to come to the board meetings and they're not able to do that. So we just wanted to communicate that to you. We also want to communicate to you that we did receive quite a number of nominations, but we are saying for now, we would like to give you the opportunity from the regions where I've just mentioned, that you give us your proposals, and then also we look at the donor, rather than us proposing people to come on board.
Thank you.
Okay? Silent means fine. Thank you.
You can ask for somebody to adopt.
Yes, can we get a proposer and a seconder?
Propose that confirm based on all this.
Okay. Atanga from Cameroon. And the seconder?
Zambia.
Sorry? Lesotho. Okay. Is that your name? Sorry, madam.
No, we're asking for...
We're asking for... Sorry?
Lillian Zuzu.
Lillian.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Lillian.
Thank you.
Thank you. We adopted that and we've confirmed the deliberations that have been presented before us. Okay. Next item, confirmation of external auditors. And we would like to propose to you that for the last 2 years we've been having a very good external auditor. And now we are proposing to you that we continue with this external auditor.
Deloitte and Touche. Deloitte and
Deloitte and Touche. If you agree, then get 2 names, a proposer and a seconder. Shout your name, please. Aduda Kenya.
Boskov, UK.
Boskov, UK. Thank you very much. Next item, we've got external ATPS Mid Term Review report for ATPS Phase Strategic Plan 2008-2012. I want to tell you that we were honored this morning by our two colleagues, and they made a presentation before the board this morning, and we agreed that rather than us making that presentation to you, we allow them to come forward and make the presentation to you. Maybe in a way of highlighting, we still have the document that we are going to go through, maybe give a bit of criticism, comments, and some of our input, so that they can be able to include that in their final report before they formally submit it to us. But I think we felt it is prudent that you are also taken through, so that we can all be reading from the same script. Initially, they requested for 3 hours.
Now you're giving them 1.
Then I told them, and we've agreed between myself and them, they can do about 10-15 minutes presentation. They've accepted that. And then also you can be given another 5 minutes to just give your comments, really, on this. But I've added them another 5 minutes or so if they have to. But this is very important, because this document, we want to use it also to share it with our partners, developing partners, if you like calling them donors, so that they, we've taken stock of what we've done. Quite a number of issues here actually also represent some of the views that you've given them yourselves, all right, among other people. May I request my... yeah. Okay, so I think we can ask, they'll introduce themselves, and the names are there, and the introduction will not be added to the 15 minutes or so, please. So don't worry.
And then please, if you have, there's something the Secretariat may have extracted from the reports and shared all the tables on the big, and it won't be cost effective.
Chair, and thank you, ATPS members. We have a limited time, so we have a very, very brief, abbreviated report to share with you. My name is Professor Vincent Anebo, the Director General of Institute for National Transformation, and my partner is Professor Christopher Garforth, University of Reading in UK. Basically, we have a very brief presentation, and this is our outline. I will take items 1 and 2, and then Dr. Garforth will quickly come. And Professor Garforth will come and take you through the actual process. But before I continue, I want to specially thank all the national coordinators. You really helped us, and you made our job easier. I wouldn't say it was easy, but you made it easier. And we want to specially thank you. Moving forward, here's the mandate, the terms of reference we are given. Number 1, to assess the effectiveness and efficiency of the implementation activities during the period 2008 to 2010. And within that, we are asked to evaluate project effectiveness against expected project outputs and project outcomes. Second part of that is project efficiency. In other words, we are asked to assess institutional effectiveness and also the cost effectiveness of program implementation. The third part then is, based on what we have found, we were asked to project, if you will, a strategic priorities for the development of ATPS Phase 7 strategic priorities from 2013 to 2017. But to give you an idea of what we did, of course, many of you were participants, so you experienced that firsthand. We conducted desk studies. I personally spent close to 2 weeks at the ATPS Secretariat going through files, documents, and I must appreciate the ATPS Secretariat. Wonderful cooperation we received from them. In fact, they created an internet portal for us where they uploaded every document we requested, so we could view them from wherever we were. Secondly, we developed a questionnaire which many of you participated in. Professor Gafford will speak more specifically on this, but we had about 214 respondents, which we think is excellent. Secondly, we were not sure how many had access to internet, but we were amazed that a large number of you had access to internet. Thirdly, we held focus group discussions. We traveled to 5 different countries, met with you, sat with you, asked questions, looked at things on ground, and based on that, we made some observations which we will share with you. Finally, we had bilateral interview with your partners, government agencies, universities, and so on and so forth. We'll be again presenting that finding. On this note, I'm going to ask Professor Gafford to please come and go through the detail of the survey and the analysis.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Chairman, for this opportunity to present our findings to date. I'm going to talk a little bit about the focus group discussions and then the survey. We had focus group discussions with national chapters in 4 countries. The plan was for 6, but in 2 it wasn't possible for various reasons to do with visa delays and security issues. But we had 2 focus groups in Nigeria, 1 in Ghana, 1 in Kenya, 1 in Uganda, and the participants in those were members of national chapters and policy and other stakeholders. We had bilateral interviews with partners in those same countries, meetings, the focus group meetings, substantial input of time from the participants, so thank you to all those involved. We followed a discussion guide with 6 broad questions, and 6 themes across those questions emerged from the reports of those focus groups. 1 came across very strongly. People felt that there was something unique about the research funded by and through ATPS. This is partly to do with its express focus on policy relevance, policy engagement and dissemination. It's to do with the way ATPS research encourages younger researchers to get started in funded research, the networking, the mentoring, and summed up in this phrase that kept coming to us: African researchers conducting studies of relevance to Africa, to African problems, and to Africans. So there's certainly a feeling that there's something unique about what ATPS enables to happen in terms of research. Secondly, individual researchers present at these focus groups saying that ATPS had made a significant contribution to their career development and to the career development of their colleagues, developing their confidence to apply for further research funding from elsewhere, people talking about ATPS laying the foundations of my research career, the ATPS grant, the one that got me started. So a big contribution to individual research careers. Looking beyond the ATPS membership, focus groups came up with several examples indicating there is indeed a visible impact of ATPS members and ATPS activities on national policy making. Mention was made of the National System of Innovation in Nigeria, and then several sectoral policy areas in different countries where ATPS members and activities have had a visible impact. And this impact seems to us as evaluators to come from 2 main sources. One, the fact that ATPS is facilitating policy relevant research and is actively encouraging researchers to engage with policymakers. And secondly, it's coming because there are well-placed ATPS members working in government departments and parastatals, providing that direct link. So, continuing with our themes, a message we kept hearing was that national chapters are constrained in what they can do by funding limitations at national level. This means they can't employ full-time or even part-time paid administrative support, and there's a feeling that there's a need for in-country fundraising, something we return to in our overall conclusions. A fifth theme, the feeling among the focus group members that ATPS's work is well aligned with current and emerging STI priority issues in Africa, climate change, for example, climate change, water issues also. And finally, the final theme, a feeling that the institutional reforms that have been put in place during this strategic phase 6 are progressing well, and indeed that ATPS in this sense is setting an example for African institutions. The desk review that Professor Anibogu mentioned produced a large amount of data, some of which we want to share with you. The general tenor of the findings from the desk review are, first of all, that ATPS is operating according to its own policies and procedures. We won't bore you with the details of that, but that's the overall conclusion relating to that. And then that over the period between the end of the last phase 5 and the current phase 6, of which we're beyond the midpoint, there has been a steady increase in staffing numbers, in the academic level, the technical and scientific competence of staff, sort of going up from the blue to the red between the two phases, and the funds raised by ATPS to put into ATPS programs going up steadily during the period, funding the use of those funds to fund activities at national chapter level, research and others, steadily going up. And one important trend which we have commented on in our report, and we come back to in our overall conclusions, the efficiency of the use of funds has improved considerably over the time period we're considering. If we look at the administrative costs, the cost of administering ATPS in its programs, the sort of core admin costs as a proportion of total costs, that has been coming steadily down, and it is now below 10%, which most internationally, most institutions and programs would be pretty pleased with. So in terms of cost efficiency, cost effectiveness, that's good news. Outputs by ATPS, by the Secretariat, staff members, again going steadily up through the phases of ATPS. So on all the key performance indicators that we as external evaluators decided we should get data on all those, the situation is improving, getting better, getting stronger. That's the main thrust of the desk study. The questionnaire survey. I'm sure that many of you in this room have helped us by filling in this survey. As many of you will know, this was sent as a Word document attached to an email. It was also set up as an online survey with a link posted on the website, and the link also emailed widely around the ATPS community. We deliberately targeted not just members but also stakeholders of ATPS. We got 214 replies, which we were very pleased with, I have to say. And interestingly, of those, 163 were replies through the online survey site, and 51 came by other means, either by fax or email. Those of you who completed the survey will know that it was structured mainly around the 6 strategic objectives of Phase 6. So I'm going to give you a flavour of the findings under each of those 6 before we come on to some more general findings about the institutional effectiveness of ATPS. So on research and capacity building. These tables you do actually have, I think, in the some of them anyway. Some of the tables that you'll see here you have had handed out to you. So this one, for example, is on page 4 of the Wadju tables that were handed out. Basically, these tables report the average level of agreement with various statements put in the questionnaire about the intended outcomes of various activities. So this one is a set of statements about the outputs the outcomes of participation in research and research capacity building programs. So just under 80 people responded to this part of the questionnaire because they had received grants or had been involved in ATPS funded research activities. And so we see the mean score, this is on an 11-point scale, 1 to 11, the mean score of agreement with these various statements. A midpoint would be 6. So we see here that these mean scores are all well above 6, indicating that overall, people who participate in ATPS research and who filled in the questionnaire think that it has had a positive impact on their ability to work in teams, to engage in high-quality research, to network with others, and to conduct innovative and policy-relevant STI research. You will also recall, those who filled in the questionnaire, that we asked for comments in an open-ended question to justify or explain the answers to the rating scales. And I honestly was quite overwhelmed by the number of responses made. Quite often in questionnaire surveys, people tick the boxes for the pre-coded questions and then can't be bothered to fill in anything for the open-ended questions. Not the case here. There was a lot of you wanted to explain why you felt, how you felt about ATPS activities. So we've just put up a few of the comments here on the screen. The full list of comments is, I think, on page 5. Probably going on to page 6 and page 7 and page 8, which gives you a flavour of the interest that you took in answering this question. On the international partnership activities, again, high scores, high levels of agreement that the intended outcomes of these activities have been met in the eyes of the people who took part in them. So scores of over 8, almost 8 for the third one. So on all counts, people feeling that their participation in these activities has been beneficial not just to them, but to the cause of STI policy on the continent. So, typical comments here. It's the interaction with international partners, allowing mutual learning across the continents. It's increased my confidence in participating in international conferences. So again, we see involvement in ATPS activities being seen as a catalyst for future personal development. Youth and gender empowerment. We had around just under 40 people answering questions in this section because they had taken part in or were involved in youth and or gender-related ATPS activities and structures. Whether that is a small number or a big number out of the 214, you may want to comment on. But again, overall, the mean scores of agreement with the intended outcome statements are on the high side. So there's certainly, on the part of the people who did take part and responded to the questionnaire, a feeling that the impact has been pretty positive. So again, just 3 comments pulled out of the many that were given in response to this question to give you a flavour of the kind of things people are saying. The training and sensitisation activities, Up to 26 people answered questions in this section. Very high mean agreement scores here, 9.9, 9.6 out of a possible total of 11. So the people who are taking part in training and sensitization activities feel that dissemination is going on, it's having an impact, and there's a positive feature for their own capacity, not just dissemination generally. And in the comments, some very specific comments from Cameroon here, from Kenya, and so on. Then STI dissemination and the outreach, knowledge, brokerage, and policy advocacy activities. Again, interestingly, a relatively small number, well, I think it's a fairly small number. 18 people answered questions in this section. Their scores, though, pretty high. For those people who did take part in these activities and who filled in the questionnaire, clearly these have been it's been a positive experience. Strengthening partnerships, sensitizing leaders, enhance the participants' own appreciation of STI policy research. Then we asked some questions about the means by which ATPS activities and STI policy issues are disseminated. Positive views about the website is user-friendly. It's the most useful source of information on ATPS and on STI policy issues. ATPS does a good job in dissemination and outreach. Coverage is improving. A negative statement thrown in number 5 there, profile of STI issues in the media in my country is weak. There's a feeling, an above average feeling